Hello everyone. This video is on radicular cysts. You can go through my other videos on odontogenic cysts and you can understand what are the introductory terms which we use in odontogenic cyst. You can understand the definitions, the elements, the other types, the classification. Everything is there in those lectures. So do go and read those lectures, look at them, share them, and subscribe them because it takes a lot of effort to actually make these videos. So today we are going to do radicular cyst. As you can appreciate in this particular picture, the cyst is present here. It is present at the apex of the root of this carious tooth. So this cyst is associated with a carious tooth. Moving on, what is the definition of periapical cyst or radicular cyst? So radicular cyst is an odontogenic cyst of which origin? Inflammatory origin that develops from a chronic periapical granuloma following stimulation of epithelial rests of Malassez in the periodontal ligament. So, there are a lot of important words which are given in this definition which can actually make you understand this entire cyst. Firstly, it is an odontogenic cyst. Second, it is of inflammatory origin and it is not developmental in origin. Third, it is developing from a periapical granuloma. How? By the epithelial rests of Malassez. So, this is the main source of this cyst. Where are these present? These epithelial rests of Malassez are present in the periodontal ligament. Moving on to this picture, you can appreciate that a periapical cyst is always associated with a non-vital tooth. There is inflamed periodontal ligament which is present, and the periapical cyst is attached to the tip of the root of or the apex of the root. It develops at the apex of a non-vital tooth. Here is a picture wherein a lot of times it is asked in the viva that what are lateral periapical cysts. So we know that the periapical cyst is situated at the apex of the root, but sometimes it is placed at the lateral aspect of the root, then it is called as lateral periapical cyst. It arises from the lateral accessory canals of non-vital teeth. Now, what are residual cysts? Residual cysts can also be asked in association with periapical cyst, although a short note could also be asked on residual cysts. So, here I've attached a picture which actually makes it very clear that there is no tooth attached to this residual cyst. So, here we can see it developing in the area of an edentulous jaw where no teeth are present, and it is developing from the remnants of a periapical cyst that persist after extraction of the associated tooth. So this picture can help you with the viva question of differentiating between residual cyst, a lateral periapical cyst, and a periapical cyst proper. Now, there are other types of radicular cyst, again, which could be asked to you in Viva, that what is a periapical pocket cyst and what is a true radicular cyst. So, periapical pocket cyst, also called as base cyst, are the cyst wherein you can appreciate out here that the lumen of the cyst is exposed to the apex of the root of the tooth. So, epithelium is attached to the margins of the apical foramen in such a way that the cyst lumen is open to the root canal. The open lumen continues with the root canal. Now moving on to the true radicular cyst, the lumen is totally enclosed by the epithelium. So true radicular cyst is the name given to it. Closed cavity entirely lined by the epithelium. So here you can see the lumen, it has a closed epithelial lining. Moving on, what are the other names of periapical cyst? A lot of times it is asked in Viva, also in university exams, just to confuse you. Instead of giving radicular cyst or periapical cyst, they sometimes give the question as write about the apical periodontal cyst or the root end cyst. So these are other names of periapical cyst. It is the most common odontogenic cyst. It is inflammatory in origin as per the classification. So it is not developmental like the dentigerous cyst or the odontogenic keratocyst, but it is inflammatory in origin. Also, it develops from cell rests of Malassez, whereas the dentigerous cyst and odontogenic keratocyst, they develop from cell rest of Serrae, which is remnants of the dental lamina. Now, one very important thing is it involves a non-vital tooth. So, radicular cyst involves a non-vital tooth. The lesions are not usually clinically detectable, as in when the patient comes to you clinically, you can't look at the patient and you can say that he has a periapical cyst or a radicular cyst. But when small, these cysts are most often discovered as incidental findings on radiographic surveys. Now, what is the pathogenesis behind radicular cyst? As in, how are they formed? Now, this cyst is classified as inflammatory. So, it is inflammatory in origin because, in the majority of cases, it is a consequence of pulpal necrosis following caries. Now, this pulpal necrosis could be because of caries or it could be because of other factors like a fractured tooth or a faulty restoration. It is also associated with periapical inflammatory response. Now, what are the other causes of pulpal necrosis? Like I mentioned before, they are tooth fracture and improper restorations. The first line of defense to pulpal necrosis, that is, after pulpal necrosis occurs, what is the first line of defense by the body in the periapical area is the formation of a granuloma. So you should know the definition of a granuloma and the contents of a granuloma. They can be asked to you in Viva. Now let's discuss the pathogenesis of radicular cyst in detail. It can also be asked to you as a Viva question and they ask you as a short note also in university exams. So the first thing involved here is the infected tooth which has dental caries, or it could be pulpal necrosis due to other factors which I mentioned before, which leads to your periapical inflammation, which leads to periapical granuloma formation, like I told you before. And this periapical granuloma is later going to stimulate the epithelial rests of Malassez. Now, you could ask me a question that what are these epithelial rests of Malassez? So, you can see I've put a diagram out here of development of tooth wherein the Hertwig remnants of Hertwig root sheath are going to form the epithelial rests of Malassez. So this is the Hertwig's epithelial root sheath. This is going to cause the proliferation of these cells, and when epithelial proliferation of these cells occurs, the formation of the cyst starts and radicular cyst is formed. Now this portion again we are going to study in detail in the following slide. Now here, this is a very detailed explanation of the formation, the phases in the formation and the enlargement of radicular cyst, which is divided into three phases. Now the first phase is the phase of initiation, how it starts. So what actually happens is, you can see this is a carious tooth. Now bacterial toxins are going to travel periapically. That means they're going to cross this area of the root, or the inflammatory cytokines from the necrotic pulp at the tooth apex are going to travel and stimulate the epithelial rests of Malassez, which are going to be present here in the PDL area, in the periapical granuloma area. Now, the phase of cyst formation is when these cell rests of Malassez, they proliferate. So, they're going to be present here. They're going to start to proliferate into a large epithelial mass. So, this was your granuloma. These cell rests of Malassez have started to proliferate and they are surrounding your granuloma and forming a mass of cells. So now if a mass of cells is formed surrounding this granuloma, what is going to happen? The peripheral cells will continue to receive the nutrition from the blood vessels outside, but the central cells, they are not going to receive the blood supply, and they will undergo liquefaction necrosis, and then a central cavity is going to be formed, which is later going to be called as the lumen of the cyst. The peripheral epithelial cells, they are going to line the cystic cavity and going to form the lining, epithelial lining of the periapical cyst. Moving on to the phase of cyst enlargement. Now the cyst is formed, it has to grow. So what happens is, now inside this cyst, there's going to be a high osmotic pressure which is developing in this central cavity due to what? The degraded cells. Because of which what happens is the fluid from outside is going to start entering this cavity. Now to accommodate this extra fluid, the peripheral cells are going to secrete collagenases or collagenase, which cause bone resorption and connective tissue breakdown and cyst enlargement. So now this entire bone from the periphery is going to start breaking down, and this cyst is going to nicely take its place and enlarge. Now next slide is actually going to tell you why this osmotic pressure is developing. Now the increased osmotic pressure in the cyst lumen is because the cystic fluid contains inflammatory exudate, high protein content, cell breakdown products, hyaluronic acid, because of which hydrostatic pressure exceeds the capillary blood pressure. Now, interleukin 1 and interleukin 6 and prostaglandins are going to stimulate the bone resorption, and collagenase or collagenases are going to degrade the surrounding connective tissue. Now, epithelial rests of Malassez, which are pluripotential in nature, can differentiate into any type of epithelium under the proper stimuli. These rests play a central role in the formation of radicular cyst. In the midst of the rich vascular area provided by the periapical granuloma, rests of Malassez proliferate and eventually form a large mass of cells, like I had described earlier. With continuous growth, inner cells of the mass are deprived of nourishment and they undergo liquefaction necrosis. This leads to the formation of a cavity which is located in the center of the granuloma, giving rise to a radicular cyst. So, although I have explained all of this earlier, we are just going through the points again. Now, moving on to the clinical features. Again, important. It is asymptomatic. The tooth seldom is painful or even sensitive to percussion, rarely destroys much bone, and produces expansion of the cortical plates. In standing cases, there could be acute exacerbation of inflammatory process, periapical abscess that may then proceed to a cellulitis or form a draining fistula. Now it occurs in periapical region, rare in primary dentition. Maxilla, especially anterior maxilla, is most affected. Common in the third and the fifth decades. It is usually, like I mentioned before, asymptomatic. Tooth may be mildly tender to percussion. Often an incidental radiographic finding. Slowly enlarging swelling may occur. Large lesions may expand cortical plates. Acute exacerbation may cause periapical abscess, cellulitis, or draining fistula, like mentioned before. Moving on to the radiographic features, peri or paraapical round or oval radiolucency of variable size, well delineated and mostly with a marked radio opaque rim. So, surrounding the radiolucency, there's going to be a radio opaque ring. Very, very characteristic. So here, these are the pictures of radicular cyst. You can appreciate, I've circled them for you. Now, moving on to the histopathologic features or the histology of radicular cyst. This alone can be asked as a short note, so you need to be very thorough with this. So, when we are talking about the histopathology of a cyst, we cover all the points, which is the wall, the connective tissue wall, the epithelial lining, and the lumen of the cyst. So, mature collagenous connective tissue wall with abundant fibroblasts is seen. The wall generally presents an inflammatory infiltrate of variable degree. So, here they're talking about the connective tissue wall. Other histologic findings within the cystic wall are erythrocytes and areas of hemorrhage, occasional spicules of dystrophic bone, multinucleated giant cells, and cholesterol crystals can be appreciated. Now, these are pictures which are showing you cholesterol crystals. Here, these are the inflammatory cells which are present in the connective tissue wall, and Russian bodies which can be appreciated in the epithelium. Now, moving on to the epithelial lining, generally it is lined by stratified squamous epithelium. Also, respiratory epithelium can be appreciated sometimes. Arcading pattern of the epithelium is appreciated in radicular cyst. So, this can also be asked to you in the Viva question. Rarely, mucus producing epithelium could be present. So, stratified squamous epithelium, but sometimes respiratory epithelium, and sometimes mucus producing epithelium could also be present. The mucous epithelium is the result of metaplastic transformation of the epithelial rests of Malassez, which are pluripotential. So, what is metaplasia? It is conversion of one cell type to another. So, stratified squamous epithelium converting into maybe mucus producing cells. Now, here they're trying to say this conversion is possible because the cell rests of Malassez, they are pluripotential, or they have the ability to convert into another cell type. Now, the epithelial lining many times is discontinuous, frequently missing over areas of intense inflammation. In rare instances, carcinomas have been reported developing from lining epithelium of odontogenic cyst, including the radicular cyst. These have been reviewed by Gardner in 1969. So, here is a detailed labeled histopathologic picture of radicular cyst, which you can even draw in your journals. Now, treatment and prognosis is as under extraction of involved tooth and periapical tissue curettage, sometimes RCT with episectomy of cystic lesion. Does not recur if proper surgical removal is done. If remnants are left, then epithelial remnants, granuloma with epithelial rest can form residual cyst a month or years after this has been removed or the surgery has been done. So this was all about radicular cyst. I hope the lecture was easy to understand. And if you like my lectures, if you like the videos, please do like, share, and subscribe, and comment if there is any problem I can help you with. Please remember, we are putting in a lot of efforts to make these videos. And if you will like them and you will subscribe to my channel, it will be very encouraging. Do spread the word so that everybody benefits from these lectures.